Before we begin, if you have ever loved someone completely and discovered that the life you built together was never really yours, this story is for you. It is a Monday morning in October, the kind of morning that smells like coffee and cold air and ordinary life. Nora Hayes is standing in the laundry room of her penthouse on Park Avenue, 26 floors above Manhattan, running her hands through the pockets of her husband's suit jacket before dropping it in the wash. She has done this every Monday for 4 years. Caleb Hearst, CEO of Hearst Capital, one of the most powerful real estate firms in New York, has a habit of leaving things in his pockets. Hotel keycards, business receipts, parking stubs. She finds them, sets them on the counter, and says nothing. Because that is what 4 years of marriage looks like, when one person loves quietly and the other person accepts it as a given. Her left hand moves into the inside pocket and stops. Something small, velvet, cold. She pulls it out slowly, the way you pull something out when part of you already knows what it is, and the other part is still desperately hoping you are wrong. It is a ring box, black velvet. The gold letters on the lid read, Tiffany & Company, not the signature blue. Black, the custom collection, the one you only buy when you have ordered something very specific for a very specific person. Nora stands perfectly still. She opens it. Inside, a diamond engagement ring, emerald cut, set in platinum, and engraved on the inside of the band in letters so small she has to tilt it toward the light to read them. I see. You were always first. C.H. A.C.C.H. Caleb Hearst. From the living room, 4-year-old Eli calls out in his big, unsuspecting morning voice, "Mama, I can't find my blue dinosaur." Nora closes the box. She places it back exactly where she found it, and she walks out to help her son find his dinosaur. Her hands do not shake. She makes pancakes. Blueberry pancakes from scratch, the way Eli likes them, small circles, not too brown, with exactly 3 blueberries pressed into each one before the batter sets. She heats the griddle, melts the butter, measures the batter with a 1/4 cup scoop she has used so many times the black handle has faded to gray. Everything is ordinary. That is what shocks her the most. How ordinary her hands look, while her entire world is rearranging itself behind her eyes. Now Eli climbs into his booster seat with his blue dinosaur tucked under one arm, still wearing his dinosaur pajamas, one sock halfway off his foot. He is 4 years old, and he is the most real thing in this apartment, in this life. Nora sets the plate in front of him. 3 blueberries. He counts seriously. 3, she confirms. Perfect. She hears the bedroom door open. Caleb walks into the kitchen in a charcoal suit, already dressed, already somewhere else in his mind, already miles from the kitchen table. He pours coffee, checks his phone, sets it face down on the counter in one smooth motion that she has seen 100 times and never questioned. She questions it now. "Morning," he says, not quite at her. "Morning," she says back, not quite at him either. He leans down and presses a kiss to Eli's hair. "Hey, I'm Buddy." "Bah," Eli announces, mouth full of pancake. "I found my dinosaur." "Good man." Caleb takes his coffee and his phone and walks to the window. His back is to her. Outside, October Manhattan is gray and wide and indifferent. Nora watches him. She studies the set of his shoulders, the way he scrolls, the way he doesn't turn around. 4 years. She has memorized this man the way you memorize a room you live in, without effort, without intention, until one day the room is different, and you realize you were the only one who didn't know. "I'll be late tonight," he says, still looking out the window. "Okay," she says. She begins clearing Eli's plate. She has already made her decision. Caleb leaves at 8:15. He does not say goodbye to Nora. He says it to Eli, crouching down with his arms out, holding his son for a moment that Nora watches from the hallway. It lasts 4 seconds. She counts them. Then the elevator closes, and Nora Hayes begins. She does not throw things. She does not cry. She does not call her mother or her best friend or divorce attorney. All of those things will come, but not yet. Right now, she moves through the penthouse with the focused quiet of someone who has been an architect long enough to understand that the most important moment in any project is the moment you decide what to keep and what to tear down. She pulls 2 suitcases from the closet. Her suitcases, the ones with her initials on the handle tags. N.H., not N. Hurst. She never changed them. She never explained why. She packs methodically, clothes for 2 weeks, her passport, Eli's birth certificate, with a small bank account she opened in her own name during the first year of marriage. Her mother's advice, the advice of a woman who stayed because she had no way out. Nora's laptop, her external hard drive, 5 years of design work, her portfolio, everything she created before and during this marriage. Her grandmother's gold earrings, small and plain and worth nothing except everything. The photograph of Eli at 1 hour old, eyes shut, fists curled, pink and stunned and absolutely real. She does not take her wedding ring. She places it on Caleb's pillow next to the black Tiffany box, which she retrieved from the laundry room. She leaves no letter, no explanation, just 2 rings, side by side on white linen. His lie and her answer. She goes to Eli's room and packs his things last, his clothes, his books, or his full collection of plastic dinosaurs, and Captain Whaley, the stuffed whale her best friend Petra gave him on his 3rd birthday. "Are we going on a trip, Mama?" Eli asks. "We're going to Aunt Petra's," Nora says. "Does she have chocolate cookies?" "She always has chocolate cookies." "Okay," Eli says, fully satisfied, and picks up Captain Whaley. The Uber pulls out of the parking garage at 10:47 in the morning. Nora sits in the back seat with Eli in her lap, his warm weight against her chest, his small sneakers resting on her thighs. He is already talking about the cookies, about Petra's cat, Mr. Buttons, about whether dinosaurs would like chocolate cookies if they were still alive. She answers him. Every question. Present, steady, here. Because he needs her to be. And she decides right now that this is the first rule of whatever comes next. Eli does not get to feel his mother disappearing. Even if she is, in every other sense, disappearing from the life she built. They cross the Brooklyn Bridge. Below them, the East River is dark gray and wide, catching the pale October light in flat, silver pieces. Above them, the cables of the bridge rise in their old, engineered geometry, steel and weight and mathematics, holding everything up. Nora grew up studying structures like this. She can look at a bridge and tell you exactly why it doesn't fall. She looks at this one now and thinks, some things are built to last because they were designed correctly from the beginning, and some things fall because the foundation was wrong before the first beam was ever set. She looks out the window until Eli falls asleep against her shoulder. Then, and only then, does she cry. Quietly, without sound. She presses her cheek to the top of Eli's head, and she lets it move through her. The grief of it, the 4 years, the mornings, and the dinners, and the particular loneliness of loving someone who was always looking slightly past you. She cries until the bridge is behind them. Then she stops. She wipes her face with the back of her hand. She does not cry again for a very long time. Petra Walsh opens her apartment door in Red Hook the moment she hears the elevator. Like she has been waiting, because she has been waiting, because Nora called from the road and said 3 words. "I'm coming over." And Petra, who has known Nora since college, understood immediately that this was not a casual visit. As she opens her arms, Nora walks in. That night, after Eli is asleep on Petra's guest bed with Captain Whaley tucked under his chin, Nora and Petra sit on the floor of the living room. Not the couch. The floor, backs against the couch, legs stretched out. 2 women who have been friends for 12 years, choosing the position that requires the least performance. Petra pours wine, a cheap Malbec from the corner bodega, the kind with a rooster on the label. She pours 2 glasses. Nora holds hers but doesn't drink right away. She tells Petra everything: the jacket, the ring box, the engraving. A C. You were always first. Petra does not speak while Nora talks. This is one of Petra's greatest gifts: the ability to be completely still while someone else is falling apart. She is a photographer. She knows how to hold a frame without flinching. But when Nora finishes, Petra says, "How long?" "I don't know," Nora says. "Long enough to have a ring custom made." "Did you eat today?" "No." Petra gets up without another word, goes to the kitchen, and comes back 8 minutes later with 2 bowls of pasta, reheated from last night, simple and plain and warm. She sets one in Nora's hands. "Eat." Nora eats. They sit in silence for a while. The city hums outside the windows. Somewhere down the block, someone is playing music, something low and jazzy, just barely audible. "What are you going to do?" Petra asks eventually. "I'm going to rebuild," Nora says. It comes out quieter than she meant it to. "From here?" "From here." Petra nods. She reaches over and presses her shoulder against Nora's. "You're going to need a lawyer," Petra says. "I know. And new clients. I know. And better wine than this." Nora looks down at the rooster on the label. For the first time since this morning, the corner of her mouth lifts. "Much better wine," she agrees. It comes 3 days after Nora leaves. She is sitting at Petra's kitchen table, her MacBook Air open, working on her portfolio for the first time in over 3 years. Adding new sections, filling in gaps, trying to rebuild the professional identity she slowly let go of when she became Caleb Hurst's wife instead of Nora Hayes, architect. Eli is napping. The apartment is quiet. Her phone buzzes. Unknown number. She almost ignores it. Then she reads the first line, and she does not ignore it. "Nora, my name is Ruth Hurst. I am Caleb's aunt. I know what you found. I know because I have been waiting for you to find it. We need to meet. Not to explain. To give you the truth you were never supposed to have. All of it. The ring is only the beginning." Nora reads the message twice. Then she reads it a 3rd time, more slowly, the way you read something when your mind is fighting your instinct and your instinct is winning. She types back, "Why should I trust you?" The response comes in under a minute. "Because I am the only person connected to that family who never wanted any of this to happen to you. And because what I know about Nora Hayes, the real Nora Hayes, the architect, the designer, will change everything you think you understand about why your marriage existed at all." Nora stares at the screen. Outside, a Brooklyn pigeon lands on the windowsill, looks at her sideways, and flies away. She calls Petra into the kitchen. Petra reads the message. She reads it again. She sets the phone down on the table and looks at Nora with the specific expression she uses when something significant has just entered the frame. "Are you going to meet her?" Petra asks. Nora closes her MacBook, picks up her phone. Set a time, she types back to Ruth Hurst. Somewhere public. The response, Thursday noon, the River Cafe. I will be at the corner table. I will be alone. Nora exhales slowly. Yes, she types back. The River Cafe sits beneath the Brooklyn Bridge at the edge of the water, facing Manhattan. On a clear October Thursday, the view across the East River is the kind of view that makes you understand why people fight over this city. Ruth Hurst is already seated when Nora arrives. 68 years old, silver hair cut short and clean, a posture like someone who has spent a lifetime in courtrooms. She's wearing dark slacks and a white button-down and Oxford shoes. The clothes of someone who dresses for function, not impression. She's drinking hot tea, not coffee. And she looks up when Nora walks in with the measured attention of someone who has been assessing people professionally for 40 years. She was a federal judge, retired, but not softened. Nora, she says, extending her hand. Judge Hurst, Nora says, shaking it. Ruth, sit down. I ordered you chamomile. I assumed you were not sleeping well. She is correct. Ruth waits until Nora has taken a sip. Then she begins. 18 years ago, Randall Hurst, Caleb's father, and a man named Edward Cole were attempting to merge two investment funds. Under New York financial law, a specific type of merger, the kind that bypasses public review, requires a verified family connection between the parties. A marriage. Nora goes very still. They wanted Caleb to marry Adrienne Cole, Edward's daughter, but he didn't. Adrienne refused. She was already in love with someone else. Ruth pauses. So Randall took a different approach. He kept Adrienne in Caleb's life as something unofficial, a relationship Caleb believed was his own choice. And he found Caleb a wife who would cause no complications, someone without financial ties, without political ambition, someone Randall believed would simply love Caleb, stay in the background, and ask no dangerous questions. Nora sets down her cup. He found me. Ruth meets her eyes. He found you, and I am sorry. I should have stopped it. The Manhattan skyline glitters across the water. Nora sits very still, understanding exactly how a building feels when someone removes the wrong support beam. Ruth Hurst reaches into the leather briefcase beside her chair and places a thick envelope on the table. There is more, she says. Tell me. In 2016, you were a design intern at Archon Group. You were 23 years old. You worked late on the night of February 14th, Valentine's Day, while everyone else had gone home. And you created a concept design for a mixed-use development that your firm had been struggling to pitch for months. Nora does not move. She remembers that night. The empty office, the cold coffee, the particular satisfaction of watching a design come together on screen, piece by piece, until it was exactly right. And your design was sent by your supervisor directly to Randall Hurst, Ruth continues. The email subject line read, Promising concept from intern. Recommend for lakefront pitch. Your name was on the original file. Your login credentials are in the metadata. Every version, every revision, they all trace back to you. And then my name disappeared. Completely. The patent for the Lakefront Commons design was filed under Caleb Hurst's name 6 weeks later. Caleb didn't know. I want to be clear about that. He was told it was an acquisition, that Archon Group had sold the design rights. He never knew the design came from an intern. He never knew it came from you. Nora looks down at the envelope. Lakefront Commons is the foundation of Hurst Capital. Every project they have built in the last 7 years was funded by the success of that development. The design that built Caleb's empire is yours. She opens the envelope slowly. Inside, 40 pages of documented evidence, emails, timestamps, file metadata, the original design file printed in full. Her design, her lines, her logic, the way she solved the waterfront access problem that every other firm had failed to solve. "How long have you known?" Nora asks. 3 years, Ruth says quietly. "And I am ashamed it took me that long to do something about it." Nora closes the envelope. Her voice, when it comes, is completely level. "What do I do with this?" Marcus Chen finds Nora first. She's sitting in a coffee shop in Dumbo on a Friday afternoon, 3 weeks after her meeting with Ruth. They're working through the legal possibilities with a notepad and a cold cup of coffee when the door opens and Marcus walks in. Her former colleague, the one who always worked the next desk over at Archin Group, the one who saw everything. "I heard you were back in Brooklyn," he says. "Small borough," she says. He sits down across from her without being invited. He sets a hard drive on the table between them. Then he sets a manila folder on top of it. "I kept everything," he says. "I didn't know what to do with it at the time. But I kept it. Every file you created, every version. The system logs with your login, the email thread where Collins sent it to Randall Hurst, the metadata." He pauses. "Your name is on every single file, Nora. I can prove it was yours." She looks at the hard drive. "Why are you doing this?" "Because I was there that night, February 14th, 2016. I left at midnight and you were still working. I saw you build that design from nothing." He looks at her steadily. "I should have said something sooner. I didn't. I'm saying something now." Nora picks up the hard drive. It is lighter than it should be for something that contains this much weight. "A deposition?" she asks. "Already written and notarized," he says. "Signed it last week. My lawyer has a copy. Your lawyer can have one." She looks at him for a long moment. "Marcus, thank you. Don't thank me. Use it." She tucks the hard drive into her bag. Then she opens her phone and calls Janet Osei, the intellectual property attorney Ruth connected her with, the one who specialized in exactly this kind of corporate theft. The one who, when Nora first explained the situation, said simply, "This is one of the cleaner cases I have ever seen. Clean evidence, clear timeline, and a defendant with a very high-profile name." "Janet," Nora says when she picks up, "we have everything." Caleb Hurst learns the truth on a Tuesday evening in November. Sitting alone in his office on the 31st floor, looking at an email his aunt has forwarded him with a single line of text above the forwarded chain. "You deserve to know what was done in your name. Read all of it." He reads for 2 hours. He does not stop to check his phone. He does not answer when his assistant knocks at 6:30 to tell him his dinner reservation is in 40 minutes. No, he sits in the darkening office as the Manhattan skyline lights up outside his window. And he reads every document his aunt has sent, the emails, the timestamps, the original file metadata, the patent filing, the email chain between his father and a man named Edward Cole. He reads the line that was written about his wife. She needs to be someone without leverage, no connections, no assets, someone who will love him and stay quiet. I have the right candidate. He sets his phone face down on the desk. He sits very still. Caleb Hurst is not a man who shows a great deal. This is something he was taught early, by Randall, by prep school, by the particular culture of men who run money and believe that control over one's expression is the same as control over one's life. But his hands are gripping the edge of his desk, and the knuckles are white. He thinks about Nora at 4 a.m, working on something she cared about, laptop light on her face. He thinks about the way she moved through their home, quietly, competently, without demanding to be seen. He thinks about the way she left. No scene, no screaming. Just 2 rings on a pillow. She knew exactly who she was the whole time. He is the one who never figured it out. He calls Ruth. She picks up on the 2nd ring. "I know," she says before he speaks. "Did she know?" he asks. "Nora, did she know why she was chosen?" "No, she found out the same time you did. I told her." Silence. "I need to fix this," he says. "Some of it," Ruth says carefully, "cannot be fixed. It can only be answered for." The email arrives at Nora's Axis studio address on a Wednesday morning, on 3 weeks after Marcus Chen placed the hard drive on the coffee shop table. The sender, Adrienne Cole. The subject line, "I owe you more than an apology. I owe you the truth." Nora stares at the name on screen for a full minute before she opens it. The email is long. Nora reads every word. Adrienne writes that she did not love Caleb. She writes that she never did. That what existed between them was a long habit, a convenience that served both their families until it no longer did. She writes that she placed the ring in Caleb's jacket pocket deliberately, that she needed Nora to find it, because she needed the marriage to end, because Randall Hurst had been using the relationship between her and Caleb as leverage over her family for years. Then she writes the part that changes everything. Nora, Randall is planning to sell the Lakefront Commons intellectual property in June. The full design patent portfolio, Phase 1 and Phase 2, to a private overseas investment group. The sale is worth $280 million. It is being structured through a shell company in Delaware. Caleb does not know. The Hearst Capital Board does not know. This is Randall's personal transaction, conducted through a power of attorney Caleb signed when he was 26 years old, and trusted his father completely. If the IP sale goes through with a patent that was fraudulently obtained, because the original designer was never credited, every piece of that transaction is built on fraud. If that comes out after the sale closes, the legal exposure is catastrophic. For Randall, for the buyers, for everyone. I have a copy of the sale agreement. I want out of this entire situation. I will give you what I have if you agree not to name me in the IP lawsuit. I am not asking for sympathy. I am asking for a transaction. Nora closes her laptop. She goes to the window of her Soho studio and looks out at the street below. Late morning, people moving, the particular fast-forward rhythm of New York. Then she calls Janet Osei. "Janet, someone just handed us the whole case. Saturday afternoon, Prospect Park." Eli runs ahead on the path, Captain Whaley sticking out of his small backpack like a flag, his sneakers flashing as he jumps over every crack in the pavement with intense personal commitment. Nora walks behind him, her hands in her coat pockets, the October air cold and bright. It is Caleb's visit afternoon, and they agreed to meet here. Neutral ground, public, good for Eli. Caleb is already at the bench near the pond when they arrive. He stands up when he sees Eli, and Eli makes a sound that is purely joyful and launches himself at his father's knees. Caleb catches him, lifts him, holds him, and over Eli's shoulder, his eyes find Nora. She looks back at him, one beat. Then she sits down on the opposite end of the bench. For the first hour, Eli manages everything. He narrates the ducks. He explains, at length, the behavioral differences between a brachiosaurus and a brontosaurus. He asks his father if dinosaurs would be afraid of subway trains, and receives a thoughtful answer that clearly earns Caleb significant respect. Then Eli sits between them, eating the crackers Nora packed, looking from one parent to the other in the calm, the clear-eyed way that children look at things that adults have complicated beyond recognition. "Ba," he says, his name for Caleb, learned from a book about families. Do you miss Mama? The bench goes completely quiet. Caleb glances at Nora. Nora looks at her hands. Yes, Caleb says quietly. I do. Eli nods, processing. Then why don't you fix it? It's complicated, buddy. Captain Whaley's fin came off once, Eli says, entirely seriously. Mama fixed it with a needle and thread. She said, Eli, nothing is too broken to fix if you actually try. The silence after that is long and full. Caleb looks at Nora. She's looking at the pond. But the smallest curve at the corner of her mouth tells him she heard. The FBI serves Randall Hurst with a warrant on a Thursday morning in April. Then he is in his office on the 42nd floor of the Hearst Capitol building when they arrive. 2 federal agents, 1 SEC investigator, and Randall's own general counsel, who has the particular expression of a man who has been given information he very much did not want to have. The warrant covers 3 areas: fraudulent IP acquisition, breach of fiduciary duty to Hearst Capital shareholders, and obstruction. Because Randall, upon learning he was being investigated, attempted to delete a server archive. The server, as it turned out, had an automatic backup that he did not know about. He did not know about it because the IT infrastructure was set up by a 23-year-old intern in 2016 who happened to be very thorough. That intern was Nora Hayes. The irony is not lost on anyone who knows the full story. Then Randall is escorted from the building at 11:45 in the morning. He walks through the lobby of the tower he built with his head up and his jaw set, the way he walks through every room he has ever been in, like the room belongs to him. But the lobby is full of employees watching, and the door is held open by a federal agent, and the car waiting outside is not his Mercedes. Caleb stands near the elevator bank and watches his father leave. He does not stop it. He does not speak. He made the choice 2 weeks ago, in a meeting with the Hearst Capital Board, to present the full evidence his aunt had provided and to authorize the board to contact federal authorities. He did it without consulting Randall. He did it knowing exactly what it would cost. He made the call because it was right, not because it was easy. Later that afternoon, then when the news breaks on Bloomberg and the stock dips 14%, Caleb sits in his office and reads every word of the coverage. His name appears throughout, not as a suspect, but as the man who cooperated. He pours himself a glass of water. Outside, the city continues. Nora Hayes walks into the federal courthouse on Foley Square on a Tuesday morning in May. She is alone. Not because she has no one. Petra offered to come. Ruth offered to come. Even Diana Reeves, her partner at Axis Studio, offered to come. Nora said no to all of them. She needs to do this as herself. Just herself. No one to hold her hand, or steady her step, or check on her expression. She needs to walk into that room the same way she walked out of her marriage. Quietly, on her own 2 feet, sure of what she is carrying and why. Not she is wearing the navy suit she bought with her first partner's paycheck from Axis Studio. Her grandmother's gold earrings. No ring. That finger has been bare for over a year, and she has stopped noticing the absence. The deposition room is small and deliberately unremarkable. A long table, a court reporter, Janet Osei on one side, opposing counsel on the other, a video camera in the corner. She takes her seat. She answers every question for 2 hours and 14 minutes. Her voice does not shake. Her hands lie still on the table. She speaks about the design, her design, the one she created on a February night when she was 23 years old and in love with the work, the one she built from the riverfront access problem up, solving each structural challenge with the particular clarity of a mind that thinks in geometry and weight and what will hold. She speaks about the night she built it, about logging out at 2 in the morning, about sending the final file to her supervisor, about not seeing her name on anything again. She speaks about Eli, about what it means to raise a child in a home built on a story that was never true. When opposing counsel asks if she is seeking financial damages, she says yes. When he asks why, she says, because the truth has a value, and so do the people who are erased from it. Nora is in the Axis studio late on a Thursday night, alone, working on the San Francisco project, the one she flew out to pitch last month, the one she won because she talked about the building as if it were a living thing that needed to be listened to, and not just filled. The studio is quiet. The Soho street below is not. It never is. Not at 9:30 on a Thursday. Her phone buzzes. Caleb. She lets it ring twice before she answers. "You're working late," he says. "San Francisco deadline. How did you know I was at the office?" "The lights were on," he says. "I was driving past. I wasn't following you. I want to be clear about that." "Caleb." "Yes." "Why are you calling?" A pause. The kind of pause that means someone is choosing between the rehearsed answer and the true one. "Because I want to ask you something, and I want to ask it right, not through lawyers, not in a text, not at Eli's Saturday visit when he's watching us. I want to ask it directly." "Ask." Another pause, shorter. "If I asked you to let me try, not to go back to what we were, because that's gone and I know it, but to start from the beginning, two people who don't know each other yet. If I asked for that, what would you say?" The studio is very quiet. Nora looks at the blueprints spread across her desk. At the problem she's been working on for 2 hours. A structural question about how to make two different eras of architecture speak to each other without either one losing what it is. "I would say," she says slowly, "that starting from the beginning means you have to actually begin. Not promise, not plan. Begin." "What does beginning look like?" "Showing up, consistently. For Eli first, for yourself, and much later maybe, for this conversation." "Okay," he says, quiet, certain. "Good night, Caleb." "Good night, Nora." She hangs up. She looks at her blueprints for a long moment. Then she picks up her pencil and keeps working. The formal renaming ceremony for Lakefront Commons takes place on a Friday morning in late October, 2 years and 11 months after Nora Hayes found a ring box in a jacket pocket and quietly changed the direction of her life. The intellectual property settlement, finalized 4 months after the federal deposition, awarded Nora full creative credit for the original lakefront design. The patent was reissued in her name. The financial settlement covered a significant portion of the past licensing revenue. And effective the first Friday of October, the development would carry its correct name. Hayes Commons. The sign is simple, stone lettering, mounted at the main entrance. The entrance Nora designed with a specific sightline in mind, so that when you came through the gate, when you saw the water before you saw the buildings, she's standing in front of it now. Diana Reeves is beside her. Petra is behind her with a camera, not a phone, a real camera, because this is the kind of moment Petra refuses to capture badly. Ruth Hurst is there, in her Oxford shoes and her white button-down, looking at the sign with the careful expression of someone paying a debt they owed for a long time. Caleb is there too. He stands at the edge of the small group, not placing himself at the center. He has been practicing this, the particular discipline of being present without taking over. Eli, 5 years old now, reads the sign with his finger tracing each letter. Hayes, he spells. That's our name. That's our name, Nora confirms. So Mama built this? Mama designed it a long time ago. Eli considers this with the gravity of a child who has just learned something that recategorizes a parent from simply mama into a person who exists in the world and does things in it. "Cool," he says, in a tone that means it very much. Petra's camera clicks. The photo she sends to Nora later that night. Nora looking up at her own name on a building while Eli holds her hand, is the only framed photograph Nora will hang in the new apartment. 6 weeks after the Hayes Commons ceremony, Eli decides that Fridays are pizza nights. He announces this at breakfast on a Wednesday, with the authority of someone who has given the matter considerable thought and reached a final position. "Fridays are pizza nights," he says. "Me, Mama, and Ba." Nora and Caleb are exchanging Eli in the building lobby, a neutral, a practical handoff, when Eli makes this announcement. He looks from one parent to the other with absolute confidence that this is a reasonable request. "I'll ask Ba," Nora says carefully. "Ba is right there," Eli points out. This is factually correct. Caleb looks at Nora. Nora looks at Caleb. "Pizza on Friday?" he says. "Pizza on Friday," she says. So it begins. The first Friday, a place in Carroll Gardens with a wood-fired oven and checkered tablecloths. Eli orders the margarita because it is, in his words, a classic. He has clearly been watching cooking shows with Petra. The conversation is careful at first, routed through Eli, who does not find this awkward at all, since he has years of practice at being the only person in any room willing to say exactly what he thinks. The second Friday, a slice shop on Atlantic Avenue. Eli eats standing up at the counter because he says that is the New York way. The third Friday, they walk from the restaurant to the Brooklyn Bridge, and Eli insists on counting the cables. He gets to 47 before he loses count and does not care. Walking back, Caleb and Nora fall into step beside each other without either of them arranging it. "He's going to be fine," Caleb says quietly, watching Eli skip ahead. "He's already fine," Nora says. "He was always going to be fine. We were the ones who needed the time." Caleb is quiet for a moment. "Are you?" he says. "Fine." She thinks about it, honestly. "Getting there," she says. He nods. He doesn't push. This is the thing she is learning about the new version of him. He knows when to stop. December. The Peninsula Hotel on 5th Avenue. Our Ruth Hurst invited all 4 of them to dinner. "Because I want to eat a good meal with people I actually like before winter makes me impossible to reach." Nobody argues with Ruth. The dinner is warm and unhurried. Eli spends 20 minutes explaining to the waiter how dinosaurs would order food if they could talk. The waiter takes this completely seriously. Caleb catches Nora's eye across the table, and they share the quiet, helpless look of 2 people who have made a child who contains entire universes. After dessert, Ruth takes Eli to see the Christmas decorations in the lobby, delivering a running commentary on the historical accuracy of each ornament, which Eli accepts as entirely normal. Caleb and Nora are left at the table. He reaches into his jacket and places a small box between them. Not velvet, not black. A rough wooden box, 2 letters burned into the lid by hand. N.H. "I'm not proposing," he says immediately. "I want to be clear about that." "Then what are you doing?" "Asking a question." He opens the box. Inside, a plain white gold band, no stone, no decoration. Engraved on the inside in small, clean letters, N.H. Her initials, only hers. "I'm asking if you'd be willing to build something new, not a second version of what we had. Something we designed from scratch, together, correctly. Beyond the window, 5th Avenue moves in its endless way. Taxis, pedestrians, lit windows, a city that does not pause for anyone's story." Nora picks up the ring. She looks at the 2 letters, her name, only hers. Then she puts it on her own finger. "Ask me again in a year," she says. "If you've done the work, ask me again." "I will," he says. No argument. No persuasion. From the lobby, Eli's voice rings out. "Mama, there's an ornament shaped like a T-Rex." Nora stands. She walks toward her son, her hand warm, her name on her own finger. The ring she chose, the name she kept, the life she built herself. Some things cannot be repaired. They can only be rebuilt from better ground with cleaner hands and the hard-won knowledge of what the original design got wrong. Nora Hayes understood that from the very beginning. It just took everyone else a little longer to catch up. And just like that, Nora's story is done. But if you're still here right now, truly still here, not just letting the video run in the background, then something hits you. Maybe it was the moment she found that ring and didn't scream. Maybe it was little Eli asking his dad, "Well, then why don't you just fix it?" Maybe it was watching a woman rebuild her name, her work, her life, quietly, without an audience, without anyone cheering her on. Whatever it was that kept you here, I want to sit with you in that for a second. Marcus Aurelius wrote something that has stayed with me. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Nora didn't fight the betrayal. She didn't beg for her name back. She let every single obstacle become the exact road she walked forward on. That's not a movie thing. That's a real thing. That's what healing actually looks like. Not loud, not fast, not dramatic. Just one decision at a time, made by a person who decided that their own life was worth building correctly. And here is what I want to leave with you. You don't have to announce your comeback. You don't have to explain yourself to the people who wrote you off. You just have to keep going, like Nora did. Keep showing up. Keep building. Let the work speak. Let the results speak. Let your name on your own fingers speak. If this story moved you even a little, hit that like button right now. It takes 1 second, and it helps this story find someone else who might need it tonight. Share it with a friend who is in the middle of their own storm. And if you're new here, subscribe and turn on notifications, because the next story coming is one you absolutely do not want to miss. We're all rebuilding something. You are not alone in that. See you in the next one. In this story, I found a diamond ring in my husband's pocket that wasn't mine, is a work of original fiction created entirely for entertainment and emotional storytelling purposes. All characters, including Nora Hayes, Caleb Hurst, Eli, Ruth Hurst, Adrian Cole, Randall Hurst, Petra Walsh, Marcus Chen, and Diana Reeves, are completely fictional and do not represent any real person, living or deceased. All names, businesses, locations, organizations, and events depicted in this video, including Hearst Capital, Axis Studio, Hayes Commons, and all associated settings, are used solely as fictional elements within a dramatic narrative. Any resemblance to actual individuals, relationships, companies, or events is entirely coincidental and unintentional. This video does not claim to document, report, or represent real events of any kind. All emotional, legal, and financial situations portrayed are dramatized purely for storytelling purposes and should not be taken as legal, psychological, or financial advice. Thank you for watching with that understanding.